Article 15 is entitled Contracting Out. There are several things I want to say about this article. First of all, contracted employees are a legitimate business practice for the Commonwealth, and we have agreement with the Commonwealth that there is a need for contractors to be working. But the law says that the contractors should be, and Richard will probably talk about this, should be time limited, no more than about a year. So what happens, however, is that often enough agencies will hire people who have particular and unique skills to do a new job, but they keep them on board for quite a while. And this is something that we are continually policing and making sure that if people are hired as 07 consultants or 03 consultants, 07s are contracted agencies, 03s are individuals who are contracted as a consultant, that stewards contact their union president to just make sure that that folks who seem to be on board for quite a while are there legitimately and fulfilling the terms of their contract, and not just simply being left to do a job that a bargaining unit member should be doing. Article 15.1 sets forth a special labor management committee to advise the Secretary of A&F. And that committee examines the cost effectiveness and impact on the career development of NAGE members. So this is a reasoned process, and union stewards should contact me, speak with your union president, just to make sure that if you see people on the payroll that are there for more than a year, certainly, that we have a discussion about that. Let me turn things over to David Young to talk about this process.
Okay. I thought it'd be helpful and instructive to give you a little history on how the contracting out language came into being. This is a true story. In the 1990s, I was the Assistant Commissioner and Director of Labor Relations for the Department of Mental Health. It was a golden age of contracting out. I negotiated agreements with the various unions to close Northampton Hospital, Met State Hospital, Gabler's Children's Center, Danvers State Hospital, Solomon Mental Health Center, and downsizing of facilities. The money saved was redirected to private vendor-operated community programs. I negotiated agreements with the various unions to privatize the Bridgewater Treatment Center and the statewide laundry, to put them under private vendors as well. I negotiated agreements with the various unions to privatize so-called partnership clinics. These were mental health clinics that were staffed by both vendor employees and state employees. This resulted in the state employees being laid off. There was 1,000 employees in the partnership clinics. They were laid off, and the money saved was then returned back to the vendor to hire more vendor employees. It got to the point where AFSCME was concerned about it continuing to have presence in the Commonwealth, because they were overwhelmingly represented in the facilities that were being privatized. The department and AFSCME negotiated what they called the Office of Competitive Bidding, which permitted AFSCME to bid on contracts to the same extent of vendors. The problem was that AFSCME couldn't be competitive because their overtime was better and their benefits were better than those of the vendor employees. This eventually encouraged Senator Mark Pacheco to pass the so-called Pacheco bill, which said that you had to do an analysis before putting out a contract, and analysis had to take into consideration that state employees were performing at maximum efficiency, so that it leveled the playing field and pretty much put a halt to this continuing downsizing of the Department of Mental Health. In 7 years, we went from 10,000 employees to 4,500 employees. That's a staggering reduction in the size of the agency. At the same time, hand in hand with the Pacheco bill, The contracting out language of the collective bargaining agreement was also improved, and as Greg said, that it provides for access to the Commissioner of Administration and Finance. I'll touch briefly upon Section 15.5. As Greg said, O3 employees are intended to be short-term consultants with special skills, but the Commonwealth often uses O3 employees on a long-term basis, not to supplement the union workforce, but to supplant it. Thus, NAGE has taken steps over the years to convert these O3 employees to regular union employees. O7 employees are consultants hired through a vendor with state money. Often they perform the work of union employees. NAGE has also taken steps to convert these employees to union status. Also, if you are a converted employee, be sure to contact Human Resources to get the benefits you're entitled to as a converted employee. You are entitled to benefits for your time as a consultant. Fundamentally, the Commonwealth is a union employer, and any efforts to undermine this should be called to NAGE's attention.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's turn to Richard, looking at it from a legal perspective.
Thank you, Greg. Greg and David have really covered this article pretty thoroughly. The one point that I would like to add here is that, as David pointed out, sometimes people are hired on as O3 contractors to do work that's very similar to that being done by union employees. When that happens and the person who's an O3 contractor is hired on as a union employee doing the same kind of work that he or she was doing as an O3, that employee who was an O3 contractor can buy his or her O3 service time and get credit for it for retirement purposes. So in a situation where somebody has been an O3 contract for, say, a year and a half, and then gets converted to a union employee as a regular state employee with full benefits, that person can also contact the state retirement board and buy and obtain credit for retirement purposes for that year or year and a half of service. The retirement board has the procedures to do this. You have to fill out a form, and as an O3 contractor, you're not making contributions to the retirement board, but in order to buy back the time, what you have to do is pay to the retirement board the same amount you would have contributed had you been a union employee during that period of service, plus a certain amount of interest. There is a cap on the amount of this so-called O3 service that you can buy back. I believe it's 4 years. But it can be of substantial benefit if somebody starts out as an O3 employee, becomes a union employee, and stays in state service for a substantial period of time, because the period of O3 service can then be used to obtain an enhanced retirement benefit. That's well worth looking into if you happen to be in that situation.
Very good. Thank you.